Hello, I'm Chris Palmer. Welcome to Gratitude Space Radio. Today is a special birthday gratitude episode, and I've got my friend and birthday girl, Hilary Russo. There she is. Welcome,
Hi,
welcome.
Chris. Thank
Nice to
you.
see you again.
I am delighted to be here. I'm always so delighted to talk to you. So thank you for having me, and thank you for being part of my celebration. Another fabulous trip around the sun.
Yes, well, I appreciate you being open to doing this, and I told you before, like it's my excuse to be able to talk with you, and we get to share some gratitude. So so thank you.
Yeah, that's great. How can we want to talk about anything else when you're in a state of gratitude? You can't be in a state of anything else, you know?
Right. It's like the sun. You just
Yes,
in the sunlight.
that's right. Mm-hmm.
So speaking of that, I mean, obviously, would you like to some people are seeing this and don't know who you are. So if you'd like to share a little bit about yourself before we get into the gratitude.
Yeah, it would be an honor. So I am Hilary Russo. I am the holistically speaking health coach. Love a good play on words. And what that means is I am a holistic integrative nutrition health coach and also a mental health practitioner. I work in a field called havening techniques, which is I'm empowering people to put the power in their own hands to be kind to their mind. And basically it is all neuroscience based. And I love talking about it because it's brain candy. That's what I call it, because we truly have the power to change our thoughts. You know, we have the power to change our thoughts. We rather that than our thoughts being in control of our minds, being in control of us. So it's a powerful tool that I love to give to people. I'm like the hardware store, I guess you would say. I love to say this analogy. I'm the hardware store with the cool tools. I might show you how to use it, but then it's all up to you.
Right. That's I've been thinking about that a lot recently about basically, the fact that we get to decide what it all means, and how grateful I am that we have the choice to make on any given situation what it means.
Yeah.
We get to this. If we're going to label it, it's our decision. What we label it.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it is. We choose to choose. My mentor, one of my mentors says that all the time. You choose to choose. And it's so true. Where your thoughts go are completely up to you. Yes, we can be in a state of woe is me. We can be in, upset. But how long do you want to be in that place is the big question. That's the kind of question I like to put out there. And I have to remind myself of that every day. Just because it's a work I do doesn't mean I don't practice it myself. In fact, I think it's essential when you're in this kind of work, when you're helping people with their emotional healing and their emotional well-being and their mental health and any aspect of your health, is to live what you're talking about, not just get a certification, get a license. You need to be able to live it yourself. And by practicing it every day, by being, that's how you are going to have, that whole be do you have philosophy. So
yeah, I was talking to somebody on the podcast last week, and I sit there and went and labeled like what was going on for them. And he came back and he said, no, I didn't see that was bad. I just saw it as like a learning experience. It allowed me to rethink about what I was doing. And I realized when I caught myself, I was like, look at me labeling his experience for him just because that's how I would have looked at it. It's like, yeah. But he was so much more healthy just to go, no, it just allowed me to think. He didn't label it as bad or good. He was like, it allowed me to think about what I was doing, and decide if that's something I want to do, and I just thought it was really beautiful because it allowed me to catch myself.
Yeah. And the first step, Chris, is really allowing. First step is awareness, right? And then once we are aware of where we are able to allow our thoughts to go where we want them to be. It's an awareness and allowing and alignment. I call it the triple A's. So when you're in the awareness at that point, then you can allow things to happen the way you want them to go. And in that's where you align with the vision that you want. And it's so important that we have that order, because you can't do it the other way. You can't be like, oh, I'm totally cool, I'm in alignment, I'm perfect, without having the awareness. You can't fool yourself, right? And we do that a lot. We go into this place where we're like, I'm good, I'm fine, everything's perfect. And we're really not taking the time to kind of sit and be in the moment, be in the now. I mean, there's so many great gurus out there that speak about being present, being in the now. And this isn't new. This is how it's been going for thousands of years. When you're present, you can't be in a state of anything else. So be in that state and be one with where you are and your emotions and your feelings. And if they're not where you want them to be, work on changing them. And that's really what I love doing with clients, is helping them and giving them the tools to alter their thoughts, moods, and behaviors. And I take that seriously myself. As you know, I've been a journalist. I'm a health and wellness journalist as well for over 25 years. And I hold space for people to share their stories, right? Because if you're not in alignment with what your story is, if you're not really truly happy with what your story is, the beauty is you have the ability to change it, change the narrative, right? And really be in that place of where you want to be rather than wanting where you want it to be, right? And from all this time that I spend holding space for these stories to be shared, I realize I do the same thing with my clients, just in a more intimate setting. And that is really where the change can happen, because it really is a tool that I feel like I've learned from people closest to me in my life, which is one of the reasons why we're here today,
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about you. I feel like I was talking to somebody last week, and I then brought up what your last remaining parent thing. It's a discussion, just the teetering off of the things that irritate us now. I remember specifically talking about who I was talking about. It's like the things that irritate us now are things we're going to miss. These are little things we're going to miss. And I was talking to my friend Scott actually on a birthday podcast. And that initially I talked to him, and then we met and had coffee, and I brought up you, and I want to share this with you because you'll love this. He's like, my priorities right now are my father. He said, I want to downsize my house so that I can save more money so I can buy a bike and ride my bike with my dad, because that's what my dad's been doing all of his life. And he told me recently he's not going to be doing it forever. Like, he made the statement, and he's like, I just want to get a bike, not because I love riding bikes, because I want to spend time with my dad. He's like, I don't enjoy hunting, but you know what? My dad does. And I was like, beautiful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Love it.
Yeah.
Similarly, I learned more about how to play golf with my mom. My mom picked up golf. She loves it. Me, I play golf like I'm still on the field hockey field. I mean, I'm like, it's all about distance when I'm playing, because I grew up playing field hockey. But when I'm with my mom, it's time, it's quality time. And just if we're hitting balls, out on the range, just not playing, 9 or 18 holes or whatnot, just that time, that quality time is so valuable. And going back to LRP, last remaining parent, which I talk about a lot, I was away for a number of years. After college, I left to move to Texas to go to school. And those are the years that I didn't really have with my dad, because I was only with my dad when I was home, holidays, and you're in your own zone when you're a college kid, Right. So when I lost my dad at 29, and I was still living far away, I was in North Carolina at that time, because I worked, as a news anchor and reporter, traveling everywhere where the job took me. I look back on that and I don't regret, because I had a beautiful relationship with my father, but I think, if I had known, like, what kind of attention would I have paid to spend with my dad when I spent with him? Right. And maybe would we have gone to a baseball game? Because my father loved baseball. Would we have done something different? But I have to say, I'm pretty content with what we did do. Right. And, but that brings up a beautiful point, buying the bike to want to do something that your friend's parent loves to do, or just that time together, is really special. And those are the things we want to think about when we get upset at them, which goes back to LRP, which I was talking about, which is last remaining parent, as I mentioned, to nurture that person that you have. And it doesn't have to just be LRP. It could be LR anyone,
Right,
just
right.
Think about that when you are angry at someone or disappointed or upset. Take a breath, step back, and be like, this person's in my life for a reason, and they're important. So how do I want to nurture this? And how do I want this conversation to go? And is this my ego getting in the way? And am I really angry based on the now, or is it something else that maybe we need to discuss and address? Those are the moments where you have to pull up your big girl or boy pants and say, let me think about this first before reacting, because it is the action of not reacting so fast, and the action of stepping back and taking a breath before you say something that you could regret, or that person's not here anymore to even say anything to.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, since we talked, I had a couple of really great moments I want to share with you. So my dad, you know, back in, I think it was September, my dad told me, you know, he's been telling me this. I've heard this story many times, but I heard the story again, right? He's like, you know, he told me, he's like, you know, this coming the 23rd, this Friday after next, is going to be the 50 years ago I met your mother. He's like, I remember at school, I remember standing at the top of the hill. I remember her coming up the hill. Right. So and I've heard this story a lot, right? But because of life the way it is, you know, and just the slowdown and not having, you know, having worked the way it was, I told him, I said, Dad, I was like, you know, I don't have work. I'm like, we could totally go and visit the campus. You know, we could go on that day, and actually we could go up there. And we did. We went to the college that my parents met 50 years the day later. I got pictures of him standing on the top of the hill where he met my mom for the first time. You know, we walked around the campus, and, you know, we went to the chapel, and he's like, yeah, there's a little alcove over there we used to go kiss. And it was just like, it was so special. And it just goes back to, like, made me think, what other stories has he told me that I could go relive with him, you know, because that was really freaking special. And it was so easy just to say, let's take a day, right? Like, what's a day? What's a day to go do something? Really? What is that? What's the cost of that? Nothing. It really isn't. But it was beautiful. And in the same sense, you know, I got married in November, and, you know, he was talking about, he loves going to Florida. And I told him, I said, I think it was early November. I told him before I got married, I said, well, you know, I don't have work, and Rosie is going to be here. I was like, we could go to Florida. I'm like, we could do that. And he was like, yeah. And he said, how about this? It'll be your all's like wedding gift. It'll be your whatever. So, you know, December. Yeah. So early December, we went to, you know, we went to Tampa area, stayed at a place 4 minutes walk from the beach for like 8 days. And it was getting up and seeing the sunrise every morning and watching the sunset. And it was just so wonderful. And it was right after I released my book. So it was like, I got to get everything that off my plate, you know, it's like, it was beautiful just to have that opportunity, you know?
Yeah. I remember my brother told me something whenever I've had some pretty big accomplishments, I remember there was one instance, and I don't know what it was. It might've been when I got QVC for the first time, like when they actually hired me to be one of their on-air talents, guest talents, whatnot. And I remember telling him about it. And a lot of times what we do is we kind of like push stuff to the side. We're like, yeah, this is great and stuff. And then we're like looking for the next thing. Right.
Right.
And he goes, bask. You need to bask in this moment. Like, do not make this smaller. We tend to make things small, but like, if we just, again, it goes back to being the moment and basking in the glory, basking in the now of what you have before you, not just things we get, right? Like that was an achievement for me, right?
Right.
But when you're at the beach, basking in that moment, you with your new bride, your dad's there, you're able to like enjoy time with Rosie, and you're able to enjoy time with your dad, and you're able to enjoy time with the three of you, and the sunsets and the sand and the smell of the ocean. Like, a lot of times we don't bask enough and be present in the now. And that's so important. Even the little things when you're just walking by and you see like a bud on a tree, or a child laughing, or the sounds, like last week when I went hiking, I'm like, just being in the moment. You know, we're always on this thing. Right. And this thing is not allowing you to bask in anything except distraction. So there's a real importance to your mental health to just take those little moments of gratitude and really appreciate that you're here, you're breathing, you're with people you love. And yeah, I love that story though. That's great that you were able to share that. And by the way, congratulations. I don't know if I ever congratulated you on,
it's okay.
you two finally getting hitched. It's been a couple months.
It all worked out, you know.
I know, it's great.
What an epic story of waiting for the embassy to open up, and then her getting the appointment, and then it was like, okay, now we need to wait for in-country flights to open up so international flights can open up. So it's like,
you're patient. It
was like August, all right, September 1st, in-country flights, October 1st, international flights. You know, it was definitely it It was great. Yeah. And it was really wonderful. It worked out the way it did. I'm really, really grateful for the way it did. And, speaking back to like being in the moment, you can't really feel gratitude or appreciate the things you have unless you're being present. It's a moment of being present. I do a gratitude and sobriety podcast, and it's like, it just brings it home so much more that when we're chasing things that are unhealthy to get a distraction, right? Mm-hmm. When we're just being distracted, like there's no gratitude in that. You know what I mean? Like it's whatever that is, just chasing distraction. But when you're present, that's where you actually can appreciate what's around you, who's around you, the things that are going on. If it's just your heart beating or the sun rising or setting or the breeze coming through. It's all about whatever that moment of saying, here I am, being in that moment and being present, not being yesterday, not being tomorrow, but being here where this is all there is. That this is all there is.
Yeah. And you know that a lot about the sobriety and just, this goes back to a lot with addiction too, and upset and sadness in our lives. We tend to find distractions, whatever they are.
Could be Netflix.
It could be Netflix. It could be, anything that is pulling us away from the present. The beauty of even the work I do, like with the havening techniques, is that in addition to it being havening touch was a psychosensory approach, using your hands, that's the psychosensory side of things. We do incorporate pleasant distraction into that mindfulness of the session, but there is a difference, because the pleasant distractions are putting you in a state of joy, so that you're creating this visual, like that my clients are the ones that are creating the story that they are in their minds in that moment, while they're, releasing all these amazing happy chemicals in their brain. The brain's going into a delta wave state. Though that's a different kind of distraction, because you're guiding it in the moment and you're seeing yourself in your mind in that moment doing that thing. So there's a real beauty of pleasant distractions. And I always tell people, like, one of the takeaways I would even share with people today on this podcast is have those little tiny lists of pleasant distractions, so that when your mind goes to another place, you can pull up your phone and be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Maybe write them down on your phone. I have them on a whiteboard in front of me on my desk. So when I'm feeling a little flustered, I can look up and be like, oh yeah, that was a great trip to Maui. Or, you get to a point where it just becomes a sixth sense and you can just instantly go to a good place. But having little pleasant distractions around you to remind you of things that bring you joy brings you back to a place of joy. And you put that in your mental health toolbox, and you keep building that toolbox,
I was totally thinking the word toolbox because my friend Bobby was talking about sobriety toolbox. And when you were mentioning that, I was thinking that's the same thing too. It's like I like, it's like a distraction toolbox or de-distraction toolbox, right? Yeah. More to bring yourself, what's going to bring you more focus back to be happy and what you're enjoying. And I love that. A mental health toolbox. That's a great framework.
What is in there? I mean, it could be thoughts. It could be, like with a regular toolbox, Chris. I mean, sometimes you need to use the hammer. Sometimes you need to use the wrench. Sometimes you need to use a screwdriver. And you go to the hardware store and you buy these things. And maybe if you don't know how to use them, maybe the associate there will show you. So this goes back to what I was saying about being the holistic hardware store, which, I offer these tools, and I'm like, hey, add this to the tools you already have. Maybe in that toolbox is already sound meditation, or maybe in that toolbox is a book that you love to read, or music, or whatever it is, yoga. Add those things to your toolbox, and then add some pleasant distractions. And then when you need to pull out of that toolbox and use it whenever it's valuable to you in that moment. And it's a very powerful way to live. And that will bring you to your state of gratitude.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I love that. That. That's beautiful. What's some of your, so you said with you leave some stuff on your phone you can read, or you have some pictures in your office, or what are your favorites?
Sure. So I have a list of pleasant distractions, things that bring me joy. I guess it could be kind of like your vision board in a way. People do vision boards all the time. I did that for a while, but sometimes my vision board's right here, and they say if you write things down or put things down, it's manifesting more by putting it before you. And I'm a believer of that. I've seen things on the vision board happen, because what it is, it's not so much the board. Right. It's the fact that your mind goes there and then you're creating that. Like this is energy. with what's going on in this universe, right? If you put it out there, it manifests. The more you put it out, the more you declare it, the more you talk about it, then you're veering yourself on this journey and this road towards that thing. So I would say, doing vision boards, if that's effective for you, just having those pleasant distractions, maybe have a picture on your desk of a place you loved to go, like the best vacation you had, or the people in your life that bring you joy. Or, we've talked about this. I mean, she's in your book, Eliza, my cat. I had the sweetest picture of us together on my refrigerator. So every time I walk into my kitchen and I look, I'm like, and I have another picture of her somewhere else. It's just like that instant moment. I'm just like, So anything that can bring you joy and brings you joy, put it around you in some way, whether it's on the wall, whether it's on a mirror.
Right.
When you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do, maybe you're checking the mirror, getting ready, something that brings you joy, it'll put you in that state. Honestly, before you put your feet on the floor, you should be doing some gratitude moments, because it paves the way for the day. It kind of goes back to that book, Make Your Bed, by the Navy Admiral. When we start our day and make our bed, it's rolling you into, as you're rolling out of bed, it's rolling you into the state of achievement. Just did one task, boom, done. What can I move on? So you get yourself in that positive mind frame, and it's going to start rolling,
I know. When I wake up, one of my first things I do is I always make sure I hit my gratitude journal. This last year, what I've been doing is I've been focusing in the morning. Like, I basically, I recount the day before. So I write down the moments I'm happy about, the moments that I want to remember, that I have joy about. And then I'm very structured and just repeating, like appreciating the everyday, like the stuff. I just don't want to, I may have talked about this briefly when we were doing the gratitude bomb, but it's like, just for the great point example is like Rosie's here, right? I don't want to take for granted that that we spent months and months and years saying goodnight to each other on the phone. And now that we're here, like, I don't want to forget that, it's so easy too, because she's here like every day.
Yeah.
Some things every day, it's like, how do we appreciate what's so great? Like, so I write down like my home, like I think about where I've lived, right? And how I'm living here, and my work that's allowed me to be able to write a book and connect with people like you and do a podcast. Like if I was an International Alliance Theater and Stage employee, I wouldn't have been able to do all this. I wouldn't, it's like a combination of how did that happen? The gratitude and all that. There's just like so much, right? You start thinking about these everyday things, these things that are easily taken for granted. So I try to immerse myself in like the basics of these everyday things, which are massive. I don't want to forget,
And I love that. I mean, that's what makes you you. That's why you're living on this gratitude journey. You're constantly creating new ways to be reminded of gratitude, and it's work for you too. It's like you're saying to yourself, I want to be in this state. So what more can I do to create this state? So you create powerful things, much like it's a passion work for you. We've talked about this. It's your passion work. It's your heart work. Much like I said that to you about my podcast when I was creating Holistically Speaking, I wanted to create heart work based on the work I do, as a journalist and also as a emotional health practitioner. Like, how can I bring these two together to serve more people, not just the people that maybe watch the show that I host or watch or listen to or in session with me? How can I reach more people? And it's by holding space for people like you. You've been on my podcast, or just anyone that has a story to tell, which everyone does.
Right.
And it's going to connect with somebody, right? And hopefully more than one, right? But if it just connects with one, you've made a difference in the life of one. It's like that starfish, right? The starfish story. But the beauty of that is that it goes back to, we choose to choose. Where do you want to be emotionally? And before I even put my feet on the floor, I sit there and I do a lot of the I am statements, the affirmational statements, which could be very powerful. Like I am happy. I have a room over my head. Just not necessarily I am, but those kind of statements reflect and help you to reflect on what is so powerful and positive in your life, because we wake up every morning and those are two gifts right there, your eyes that open, right? So the one thing I always say when I start conversations with people, and I did it with you when we got on this before we were recording, I always say, what's new and good? I do it with my students too. That's another tool that people can start using. Instead of saying, hey, what's up? How you doing? Try what's new and good, because it puts you in a frame of mind, the person you're asking, to be like, what is new and good? Not just what's up. Oh, everything's cool. I'm good. It allows them to think about it. And when I start my sessions, I do it this way. And when I start my class, because my classes are online right now, and my students are a little bummed because they want to be in the studio with me shooting, on TV, on camera, because that's what I teach. And I'll say, what's new and good? And I will not move off that person until they come up with something that is new and good. Because if something has not happened since I've last seen you that is new and good, you're not in that moment really thinking about it, because something has happened. Right. And it could be little, like, I got the brakes fixed on my car, or hi, I had this new piece of candy yesterday, or I had dinner with a friend. It could be anything, but then it allows you to reflect on that happy moment and that joy. And then that's where you're rolling. Right. So yeah, my students actually enjoy doing it now. So it's kind of cool,
So you ask each one of them that every session, or how
every session for my havening clients, for my integrative nutrition clients. I ask them before we even start. I get on that call with them on it's all video. Or if I am hopefully starting to be in person again, being able to have my clients in session. Or with my students, I say, okay, guys, what's new and good? Because I can do it in group session too. Like I do my work in group session, and I present that question and they go around the room. So whether it's an intimate one-person, one-on-one session, or it's my group sessions or my classes or my workshops, if it's a small enough class, I'll ask it. And then they get to hear each other. Like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. Oh, that's kind of cool that he or she did that. And then you create this sense of community when it's more than one person. And then it allows you to think about it like, oh, wow, that's cool. She did that, or he did that. And I did this as recent as yesterday, because I think I told you, I'm part of the Daily Burn Fitness. It's an online fitness program.
I don't know if you mentioned that to me, or maybe I saw it online, but I don't think we talked about it.
So Daily Burn is an online live streaming fitness show, and I've been with them since day one, since 2015.
I have seen some stuff you posted. Go ahead. Yeah.
So while we've been in COVID, we really haven't been shooting live. We shoot once in a while in the studio, but we created like a Zoom so the community can stay together. And I really try to make an effort to show up, because part of, our word is our bond, as the saying goes. So I make an effort to show up. I don't have to, but because I'm part of the show, people see me on the show. I want to be in the room and be part of the members who are, working out every day, seeing us on camera, seeing us on their screens. And yesterday I asked that question, and it was the first time I said, I just want to hold a space for everybody here, because we're talking about the pandemic, what we're doing, what we're not. What's new and good with everybody in this room? Like, what are you taking away from this pandemic that's positive, right? And everybody wrote out their what's happening, what their feeling is, connection, better connection, more time to self, more time with my kids, whatever it is. And I said, okay, go back and read that chat, everybody. Like, go in the chat right now. And they left feeling so empowered. Now, given we just released so many happy chemicals from doing a workout, right? Because it was post-workout. But add that on top of that. And I'll be curious to know when I check in with them tomorrow, like, what was your day like? So those are the kind of things I love to do in workshop and sessions, because it gets the ball rolling, right?
Right. That's the same thing I was doing when I put out the call to Dear 2020, my book that's coming out at the end of next month. So,
love it.
Got 40 people sharing their different experiences of the last year, and what, it's the good and the bad. It's all in there, which is great, because it's perspective and looking. Obviously, we can focus on just the bad things, but like you said, there's always good things. There's always good things.
Always.
It's life is it's like you said, it's there's good and there's bad, and you get labeling too. But I mean, if people look, that's the thing about the reflection, right? And that's what's great what you're doing with the group is like one person hears and they go, oh yeah, right. so then I hear someone go, oh, I did something like that. That is something good I did. I wasn't thinking it was good because I was
Right.
just not even seeing it. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's, there's a quote that Eckhart Tolle, it is one of, if not my favorite quote. And it's, life will give you whatever experience is most helpful for the evolution of your consciousness. How do you know it's the experience that you should be having? Because you're having it, basically, and it's so true. If you don't really identify with what is happening in the moment right now, you're totally out of the moment. Right? That experience you're having, good or bad. And we've all had those messes in our lives, those traumas in our lives. But as I always say, your traumas are your triumphs. Your mess is your message. And your pain is the true basis of your power. I have to think like that because I myself have been through some upsets, as we all have, but those upsets, you can shift them and transform them into what you want them to be and part of the message that you're sharing, because we're all storytellers and someone's going to identify with who you are and what you have to share. So you need to be in the power of sharing your story, even if it's intimately with one person. It doesn't have to be that you're a podcaster like we are, or, a mental health practitioner, or, doing the gratitude work you're doing at the level. It doesn't have to be out there, but even in your heart to one person, it can make a powerful difference. So things to think about, that your story does matter,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I've been thinking about talking a lot about that recently too. It's like, if you're sitting in a grateful state, it's very simplistically to look back and go, the good and the bad, it's okay. Because if you love yourself and you're here now, you know that all that who you are is because of your journey.
Mm-hmm.
So it's even, even the bad stuff, if you're sitting in a place, you can go, that's okay. Cause here I am, I love who I am, and I'm only who I am because of my experiences. So it can be tough, but when you get into a certain space, it's easy to look back and go, it's okay. Like, it's okay. My heart was broken that one time. It's okay that somebody passed away that changed my life. Right. These are all painful things, but again, you're who you are now because of it.
And you're going to survive.
Right.
You're,
And you
you're
survived.
okay.
Right.
It hurts. Loss hurts. Being hurt hurts, but you're still breathing and you have work to do, and you're on this planet for a mission, and you're on this planet because you're a beautiful creature that has something to share, whether it's just being a mom, just being a mom. Really? Did I just say that? Just being a mom, which is unbelievable, or being a friend, or being a friend to yourself, and that is true power. And it goes back to what I said earlier. When you are in a state of gratitude, neurologically, this is not like woo woo, you can't be depressed. Your brain doesn't allow that. And I learned that pretty early from one of my mentors, who I studied with in the field of neuroscience, that your brain can't do that. I'll share a little bit. I mean, this is powerful. Like, obviously our amygdala, as we all know, loves to go to fight or flight mode, right? I mean, loves to go to that place. It always is like, it's scary. Don't want to do that. Don't want to do this, whether it's a new task or, bungee jumping for the first time, whenever. We go into protective mode, the amygdala, or Amy, as we call her. And you have to nurture Amy like it's a baby. Like, what do you do when your little girl or your little boy cries? You say it's going to be okay. You don't freak out and be like, oh my God, like, that's not helpful. What you do is you're like, you're good. You're safe. Mommy's gotcha. Daddy's gotcha. Or just someone's sad and you're like, you know what? I'm here. And that's what we need to remind ourselves to tell Amy, is that I'm here. You're good. You're loved. You're protected. You have so much to be thankful for. And that's where you start changing the brain with how we're thinking. And when you're in that state of gratitude, and when you're in that mindful state, and that now, you don't even realize you're doing the change without even trying. And then it just becomes like a practice, like running. The more you run, the better runner you become, right? The more you do yoga, the more you do mindful work, the more powerful of a task you're achieving, and the easier it becomes.
Yeah, and being in that state too, I think it allows me to get less attached to things that I can't control the outcome of. So it cuts back on my worry too.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
just I know if I'm doing what I can, and I'm and then same since I have gratitude in my heart, it's like I don't get caught up in things I can't, if I can't control it, I try not to let it suck me in and take me out of the now.
Mhm.
Just
And something I heard recently, I can't remember if it was Deepak. It might have been Deepak, because I've been heavy into, I love doing the 21-day meditation experiences that he and Oprah put together.
mhm.
And I recall this might have been his. I mean, I've heard it before, but just the way it was put. But that whole idea of we have the ability to, what we want to do is be in control of our mind, not let our mind be in control of us. And a lot of times we give a lot of power away to the thoughts that
Right.
start trickling, and like then it becomes this domino theory of negativity. It's hard to get out of that. It kind of goes back to The Secret. If you've ever read The Secret or seen the movie, the whole idea of like, if you're starting your day positive, or if you have a negative thought, you just let it just roll and roll and roll. Oh, great. Got a ticket on my car. Oh, flat tire. Awesome. Oh, there's a line. Awesome. I'm in a rush. All of that will continue to happen in that direction if you're in that place, right? But if you're
Right.
like, you know what, I'm good. I can change this. All right. So whatever. I left late. Let me take some accountability. That's why the line, and I'm feeling more of the anxiety of being in this line, because I could have maybe left a little earlier. Like, you need to be accountable, right? Or, okay, I went over a nail, my tire's flat, but there's a solution to this. I've got a donut in the car, and if I don't, I have AAA or whatever to take care of this. This is not life threatening.
Right.
Right. So let me remind myself that I have the tools, and in this case, maybe a real tool. I have a tool that can provide me a solution. I have a phone to call. I'll get AAA out here. We'll handle that. But when you start going into the negative, it just keeps going. You got to pull yourself back. And that's what I mean by you being in control of the thoughts you have, rather than letting your thoughts be in control of you. Because if that dictates the day, it could be it could be a day you don't want.
Right. Right. We always think it's like gratitude, like I feel it's like it's a recalibration. So it's like, that's why it's so great to do it in the morning. It's like you're recalibrating yourself so that you're setting yourself up for when those things happen. You're not far away from those moments,
Mhm.
Even the flip side of having a car, if you want to flip the gratitude on the car problem, it's like, it's a good problem to have because you have a car. What if you didn't have a car? You wouldn't have that problem. Like, take away the car. What do you have then? You're taking public, you know what I mean? Like, there's different ways to do that. I know that we've been talking longer than we talked about. So I totally want to give you a little more space here, just to share, this last year and your birthday coming up, like some thoughts you had, and also some people in your life that come to mind you'd like to share some gratitude for.
Yeah. Well, let me say this. I mean, the pandemic happened and the world shut down 2 weeks before my birthday. Not that I had anything major planned, but if anything, this year has been a gift. I have to say that this trip around the sun, it has been probably one of my biggest growth and learning experiences. I put out there prior to it happening that I want to connect with more people. My words for 2020 rather, were connect and create. And man, did I do that. And part of that was because being in this pandemic, living in a place on my own, not having a lot of social interaction with people. Thank goodness for the internet, because I was like Zooming like it was my job. Actually, I guess it was my job, but I was starting to host Zooms, and then it became a thing. And for my birthday, even, I wound up doing a Zoom and doing a self-havening session with people that wanted to come. What do I want to do on my birthday? I want to give you the gift of emotional well-being. So that's what I chose to do on my birthday. So I was like, what else am I going to do? I'm by myself. I'm going to get dressed up. I'm going to put on some cute shoes. Nobody's going to see them. we'll dance around, we'll do a havening session. And I was like, that was a really cool birthday, compared to the year before. I was in Costa Rica, which was amazing, but it was different for me this year because from that time that we shut down, it was connecting and creating a program for, emotional health and the Holistically Speaking brand, and creating finally launching the podcast, which to me is just such hard work, holding space for people to share their trauma to triumph stories through health, healing, and humor. Connecting with new people like you. I mean, you were a 2020 connection, right?
Likewise. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm so grateful for this time to slow down and really, and just be present. I mean, I'm talking about it so much, but living it, right? It gave me time to work on even more of my work and be better at what I do, because so many people were in need and still are of ways to de-stress and handle their overwhelming feelings and the depression and isolation and clarity. I mean, that's helping people through that with the work I do, gave me more time to work on that so that I can be better at what I do as a practitioner. And also, connect on different levels and really appreciate those in my life, like my mom, who lives 2 hours from me. And I maybe have seen her a handful of times because I didn't want to put her in jeopardy, or her husband, and be selfish of wanting to be with my mom. And thank God she's so understanding, because she realizes how important it is for us to be careful. So while she's just a hop, skip, and a jump away, FaceTiming there's no tomorrow has been with my mom. And that's allowed us to have really powerful conversations because we're connecting this way. We're not distracted by doing other things while we're FaceTiming, So, I'm very appreciative of my mom on so many levels. She's been there for me with everything through my life, always. She's that person that truly, and she turned 80 during this pandemic, right? So I had to do something really special for her. Although I will say she had a pretty awesome 79 because she graduated college.
You can maybe tell me about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And we threw her, my brother and I threw her a big, graduation party, much like she did for me millions of times for high school, college, whatever. And it was her time to shine and bask. Right? Because 60 years after starting your college education, you finished it and walked in that ceremony with all those people. She is truly my shiro. She is my mother is my shiro. And we have butt heads so many times because we're so much alike. But let me just say, if I have gratitude for anyone on my day, on my special day, it is Beverly Russo, because she is, she's the one that taught me so much about being present and being in the now, and not judging and not allowing toxic around you. And if there's people that you don't align with, it's okay to let them go and surround yourself with good people, and let the experiences you're having, whether they are good or bad, are happening because they're supposed to be happening. I mean, I guess my mom in a way is a guru too, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I hold space for my mom. And then I have to say, they're kind of a powerful duo, because my brother's 12 years older than me, David, and my brother's a sensei, master of jujitsu, very mindful, present state, but he's also an artist. So it's all about being present in the moment when he's creating. And the two of them together have been my rock, with my dad kind of on our shoulders and whatnot, because he's no longer here. But I would have to say I have to hold space for those two people, because I've had some really powerful conversations with both of them. And I've had some arguments with both of them, but I think it's just, those closest to us are the ones we let our defenses down and sometimes really show who we are and see the mirror of the things we want to change in ourselves and the things that we love about the other person and we love about ourselves. So Beverly and David Russo, man, who without them, I'm who I am so much because of them believing in me. Yeah. So thank you to them.
No,
Happy
yeah.
birthday to me. Sorry to my brother that he, 12 years old. He's like, what's this little thing that's coming into my space? Right. I always
She's
kid
going
with
to
him.
get all the focus.
Like I was the only guy. I'm like, sorry, had to show up, so surprise. So I hold space for them. And obviously I have very close friends that have been there for me through so much. But this last year, that's been powerful for me to connect, create. And now in this new year, my word is align. And I'm aligning with new tasks and new journeys. I'm getting certified as a hypnotherapist to add to my modalities. And I love that because it aligns so well with havening so that I can continue to do the work that I'm meant to do and serve others and help them on their healing journeys. That's my gift to myself to help others.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And I totally get it. And I totally see it and I understand it. And I love it. I love it. Yes. I loved everything you just said. I'll tell you, when you started by saying last year on your birthday, your gift to yourself was creating the space to other people and doing the havening. I love that so much because it's like to speak so much to you is like, that you love doing that brings you so much joy. So it's like, what else would you be doing on that day? Like it completely makes sense. What a beautiful gift to others and yourself. Like you just, it's wonderful. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, it means a lot to be able to do that. But I have to mention, and I didn't, and I know this is, it's part of what's in your book, Dear Gratitude, an anthology. And she's sleeping, so I'd have to get up to get her. But, I have to say this last year, I've only really had one partner and roommate, and it's been Miss Eliza Doolittle. She has been my totem. She's been my shadow. She's been my therapist. And having this little fur ball, my little fur baby, who's, 15 and a half at this point, she and I have shared a lot together on this journey called life. But in this last year, having a pet has been really important. And knowing that I have time to nurture something and care for something and vice versa. She's the nurse that was there when I was sick. She sits on my lap so much of the time when I'm doing sessions with clients. She makes an appearance every once in a while on, when I'm in class with my students, and sometimes you'll see her walk by when I'm doing TV appearances. It just depends. Like she owns the house, but she's such a sweet soul. And I know that when I found her, I not only saved her, she saved me,
Oh, I know. My dad's been slowly reading Dear Gratitude anthology, and he read he's like, oh, I read my essay today, my letter today, about Gracie. And I asked him, I was like, well, oh, that means you've read these, and we talked about yours. And he's telling me about the highlighted things about specifically she showed up the right time and she saved me. And he completely felt that resonate with. He's like, that just resonates with me so much because I feel the same way about my cat, and and that's why I love the animal section, the companion section in the book, because it's just like, it's so beautiful to hear people talk about their animals, because animals do things that just humans can't do. Like it's just, it's a completely different thing. So speaking of that, though, you were kind enough to write an essay for the book, and I would love if you would read that right now.
I will. I wish I had her sitting here to share this moment with, but cats, they sleep 19 hours a day. What are you going to do?
We didn't schedule it on her timetable.
I tried to encourage her to come over here, but she's like, yeah, it's Sunday. I'm sleeping. Okay. So I'm reading this. Yes.
Yes.
I'm very excited. So Gratitude is Loverly with Eliza Doolittle. When I talk about my sweet kitty, Eliza, I often say we saved each other. Eliza came into my life during a difficult time. My relationship was struggling. I was in the middle of a career change, and I had lost my father a few years prior. I felt a loneliness and uncertainty that couldn't be explained. Thinking about bringing a pet into my life was the last thing on my mind. I wasn't sure I had the emotional bandwidth to nurture anything else, let alone myself. But Miss Eliza Doolittle, well, she had other plans. I remember it was a cold Thanksgiving day in North Carolina. I was living in the Carolinas at the time and had just wrapped a lovely holiday dinner with friends. Driving back home, my eyes fixated on a tiny calico puff in a hotel parking lot. Cowering near a storm drain, her little mouth gaped open as if it were a cry for help. I understood her loneliness and uncertainty as I passed by, only to quickly do a U-turn. Within seconds, I found her under a car and tempted her with turkey leftovers. The rest is history. I found her in a gutter, so the name fits. Theater lovers will get the My Fair Lady reference. A once wet and matted kitten became quite an aristocat. For 15 years, this cat has been my little shadow. Together, we've lived in multiple states, been through a couple relationships, witnessed some births as well as some deaths, and even shot a commercial together. Yes, she's the blue buffalo cat food commercial kitty. I'm just there for moral support. All kidding aside, this beautiful being has given me so much, even when I felt I had so little. It's amazing how much can be packed into 8 pounds of a purring machine. But the biggest gift she has given me is love. Always love. Eliza has taught me how easy it is to find joy in the moment and be in a constant state of gratitude. She's a reminder to be present and relax. All she knows is love, because love is all there is. Seems like the perfect formula for living your life loverly.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Yes.
Love that. That was great. Thank you for reading that so much. I've only got to done it to the few people, but I love hearing these people. I love hearing the people write, you know what I mean? You understand, just hearing the writer read the words that I've heard in my head with my own voice several times.
I feel that was the first time I ever read it out loud. I got a little choked up when I was about to say her full name for the first time. When I said Eliza Doolittle, I was just like, whew, because I really didn't look at that prior. I'm reading, and obviously, I'm used to reading scripts and whatnot with what I do, but we're human. And I connected to that, and reading that and hearing it out loud,
it's beautiful.
Yeah. It reminds, like, there's a moment of gratitude right there, Wow. So thank you for holding space for me to be able to share that.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for writing it.
This didn't help. She's like still sleeping. She's so cute. Yeah. So thank you.
Oh, you're
much
welcome.
To be grateful for, and I appreciate you holding space for me on my special day, which is not just my special day, but it's a day that can be anyone's special day. I am happy to share it with many. March 30th.
Right.
Go create amazing things, everybody.
That's beautiful. I just wanted to thank you again for your time. I wanted to thank you for writing for the book, for your friendship, for coming on the podcast, for always being up for creating gratitude moments with me and doing our painting together. It is beautiful. Again, thank you so much for writing for the book. And it was so wonderful just to hear you read for that. You actually reading the passages there was very special. And I know that it created a space for me to just appreciate it more. And I know that when I put that out in its own little thing, it's gonna bring a lot of people to those moments too, because animals resonate so easily with people because they are incredibly special. So
they are. And this book, everybody, if you have not picked it up, please do. I mean, it is so beautiful, and you are holding space for so many unbelievable stories to be told. And you're doing more. Like, you're inspiring me, because I've been on this journey of wanting to write my book and something to share more with people. And every time I hear about somebody putting a book out, and this is like a nice book. It's not like,
oh, thank you.
Had it done it like, bound at Kinko's. Not that it doesn't matter. It could be it could be with crayon on a napkin. It doesn't matter. But the time and attention I know you put into this book over this last year. Thank you for giving everyone a gift with this book and the new one you're working on. And thank you for inspiring me, because I pulled out my writing guide, because I do want to get mine out there and, create more space for more stories to be shared.
You're welcome. And if you need somebody to like check in on you weekly or, anything, are you, whatever. I know you have tons of friends, but if I can,
and you're
help,
one of them.
I can help. I know if I can help you in any way, that I'm, if it's just banking ideas or talking about the creative process and getting it out or whatever, I'd be very happy and honored to be a voice in the room with your creative process or whatever that means. I feel like a blah, blah, blah.
That is a beautiful gift. And can I share something with folks as something I'd like to give to people?
Sure.
If they're interested. I'd love to be able to, and if you want to share this in any way possible. So I have a number of little videos that I've created that teach folks how to self-haven, so that when they're in a state of upset, when they're needing to find themselves back and find themselves in a state of calm and happiness, I would like to be able to give a gift of gratitude and a short havening session with me. And if you just go to hilaryrusso.com/gratitude, you can download that and watch it whenever you need it, and just put the tools and put the power of emotional well-being in your own hands. Again, you're just stopping by my hardware store. That's all you're doing. Right. And I'm like, here, this one's on the house. So hilaryrusso.com/gratitude, or if you want to find more about havening, just go to hilaryrusso.com/havening, and let's just all be kind to our minds.
I love that. And I'll make sure that I put the hyperlink in the show notes, and I appreciate you sharing that. And I thank you so much. Thank you again for today. Thank you for your friendship, and happy early birthday. And this will be this will be on all the platforms on your birthday. So it'll be something sitting there for you when you wake up. Thank you for creating this with me. And I'm just going to stop there because I feel like I'm just really loading the thing. I'm getting carried away, but I appreciate it. And I really loved our time, as I always do. And I really do appreciate your friendship and what you do and who you are.
And
you. And I want to say one other thing. I think I said before, I just want to say, you were like, I really appreciate you sending me a Christmas card. And even though it did show up because the mail got lost, I was still very, very appreciative when it arrived that you thought to send me something. It was very, very kind of you. So, thank you for being you.
That's something I have to say Beverly Russo instilled in me. Still write your thank you cards. We get so in the habit of sending a text or an email. I'm not saying that's bad, but to me, putting a pen to paper and writing out my thoughts in the moment is really powerful for me to connect with that person, because it gives me a moment to really think about it. And I do that with every podcast guest. I do that with every person that holds space for me and invites me to dinner or whatnot. It's just that showing up in the mail it's special, isn't it? So thank you for.
Totally is.
I'm glad that connected with you, because I'm not going to stop doing that.
Oh, I know you're not. I was thinking this is who you are, and it's just another beautiful quality of Hilary.
Oh, thank you.
So, you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, I'm Chris with Hilary, and just remind everybody they got a lot to be grateful for. And today may be Hilary's birthdays, but every day can be a celebration for anyone. So go out there and celebrate.